On December 2, 2001, a company worth $63.4 billion filed for the largest bankruptcy in American history. Employees lost their retirement savings overnight. Investors watched billions evaporate like morning fog, and the executives, some of them had already cashed out months earlier. This is the story of the worst CEO decisions ever made, explained so simply that even a 5-year-old would look at these guys and say, "Why did you do that?" Let's start with the big one. Enron was, at the time, America's 7th largest company. They sold energy, traded commodities, and on paper, they were printing money. Wall Street analysts loved them. Fortune magazine named Enron America's most innovative company 6 years in a row. 6? That's like winning Best Actor at the Oscars and then getting arrested backstage. CEO Jeff Skilling and founder Ken Lay ran the operation with the confidence of guys who believe their own press releases. And honestly, why wouldn't they? Revenue hit $101 billion in 2000. The stock was trading at $90 a share. The plan was simple enough. Keep growing, keep reporting profits, and never let anyone peek behind the curtain. But there was one problem. The profits weren't real. Behind the scenes, Enron was hiding billions in debt through a maze of shell companies and off-the-books partnerships that would make a forensic accountant weep. CFO Andrew Fastow built financial structures so complicated that even other Enron executives didn't fully understand them. Define legal, you might have asked at an Enron board meeting. Not illegal would have been the answer. When journalist Bethany McLean published a simple question in Fortune in March 2001, asking how exactly does Enron make its money, nobody at the company could give a straight answer. Turns out you can't power a company on confidence alone. By August 2001, Skilling abruptly resigned as CEO after just 6 months in the top job, citing personal reasons. Street raised an eyebrow, then both eyebrows. By October, Enron restated its earnings, wiping out $586 million in reported income. The SEC opened an investigation. The stock, which had been sitting pretty at $90 a share, cratered to 26 cents in a matter of weeks. 20,000 employees lost their jobs. Their 401k plans, loaded with Enron stock that the company had encouraged them to buy, became worthless. Meanwhile, executives had quietly sold $1.1 billion in shares before the collapse. Arthur Andersen, the accounting firm that was supposed to be watching the books, started shredding documents so fast that their paper shredder probably filed for workers' comp. It was like watching someone set their own house on fire and then complain about the property value. Now let's rewind to the year 2002, when Yahoo was the undisputed king of the internet. They had over 125 million monthly users, a market cap north of $100 billion at their peak, and a portal strategy that essentially made them the homepage of the web. Executives believed they didn't need a better search engine because, well, people came to Yahoo for everything else. Email, news, fantasy sports, you name it. So when 2 Stanford grad students named Larry Page and Sergey Brin offered to sell Google for $1 billion in 2002, Yahoo CEO Terry Semel said no. $1 billion for Google. That's like being offered Apple stock in 1997 and saying, "Nah, I'll invest in Beanie Babies instead." The logic at the time actually made sense to Yahoo's board. Search wasn't where the money was. Portals were the future. Content was king, except it wasn't. Google took that rejection, built AdWords, and by 2004 went public at a $23 billion valuation. Meanwhile, Yahoo stumbled through a series of CEO changes, failed acquisitions, and an identity crisis that lasted the better part of a decade. They even turned down a $44.6 billion buyout offer from Microsoft in 2008. Microsoft, offering $44 billion. Yahoo said no. By 2017, Verizon bought what was left of Yahoo for $4.48 billion, roughly what Google makes in about 2 weeks, from the homepage of the internet to a footnote, all from one rejected phone call. Then there's Pan Am. Remember Pan Am? If you don't, that's kind of the point. At the time, Pan American World Airways was the most glamorous airline on Earth. In the 1960s, flying Pan Am was the equivalent of getting a first-class ticket to the future. They pioneered transatlantic routes, introduced the Boeing 747, and built a brand so iconic that it showed up in movies and TV shows for decades. CEO Juan Trippe spent money like it was going out of style. He ordered 25 747s when most airlines were buying 3. The idea was that bigger planes meant cheaper seats meant more passengers. The math was beautiful. Reality was not. The 1973 oil crisis hit Pan Am like a freight train. Fuel prices skyrocketed. Those gorgeous 747s, incredibly expensive to fly half empty. Pan Am had expanded too fast, borrowed too heavily, and built an empire on the assumption that nothing would ever go wrong. At first, nothing seemed wrong, then everything fell apart. Deregulation in 1978 opened up domestic routes to competitors who were leaner, meaner, and didn't have Pan Am's crippling overhead. Airlines like like Delta, an American swooped in. By the mid-1980s, Pan Am was selling off routes and assets just to stay alive. On December 4th, 1991, Pan Am flew its last flight. 86 years of aviation history gone. Think of it like the Titanic, except the captain saw the icebergs and ordered full speed ahead anyway. Now, Toys R Us. This one hurts because everyone loved Toys R Us. In 2000, they were the biggest toy retailer in America, pulling in $11.2 billion in annual revenue. But their website was a disaster. Pages crashed during holiday season. Orders got lost. So in a moment of pure strategic genius, they signed an exclusive 10-year deal with Amazon to run their online toy store. Amazon would handle the tech. Toys R Us would supply the toys. Executives thought it was the perfect partnership. We get the internet without having to build it ourselves. Guess what happened next? Amazon started selling toys from other vendors on the same platform, directly violating what Toys R Us thought was an exclusive deal. Toys R Us sued, won, and left the partnership in 2006. But by then, they'd wasted 6 critical years without building their own e-commerce capability. 6 years during which online retail went from novelty to necessity. Meanwhile, Amazon had learned everything about selling toys online, using Toys R Us's own customer data and supplier relationships. It was like teaching your replacement how to do your job and then being surprised when they take it. The company loaded up on $6.6 billion in debt from a leveraged buyout by Bain Capital, KKR, and Vornado in 2005, couldn't compete with Amazon and Walmart online, and filed for bankruptcy in September 2017. From Jeffrey the Giraffe to a liquidation sale. 735 stores closed. Borders Group made a similar mistake, except somehow worse. In 2001, Borders was the second largest bookstore chain in America, with over 1,200 locations and $3.4 billion in annual revenue. Ebooks were starting to emerge. Digital was clearly the next frontier, and the company needed a strategy. Their solution? Outsource their entire online operation to Amazon. That's right. They handed their digital future to the company that would eventually destroy them. It's the business equivalent of asking the wolf to babysit the sheep. CEO George Jones insisted that physical retail was still the core business. People want to touch books, he reportedly said. They doubled down on CDS and DVDs too, right as iTunes and Netflix were making those obsolete. Meanwhile, Amazon launched the Kindle in November 2007 and started a reading revolution that would reshape the entire publishing industry. By 2011, Borders had closed all 642 remaining stores and laid off 10,700 employees. The book industry's shift to digital was accelerating fast, and Borders had voluntarily given Amazon the keys to the kingdom. And finally, there's Juicero. This one's almost too perfect. In 2016, a Silicon Valley startup raised $120 million in venture capital to sell a $400 Wi-Fi connected juicer. Yes, you read that right. A juicer that needed Wi-Fi. The machine pressed proprietary juice packets that cost $5 to $8 each. CEO Doug Evans compared himself to Steve Jobs. He called the juicer the most complicated food apparatus since espresso. Investors believed him. Google Ventures believed him. $120 million in funding believed him. Then, in April 2017, Bloomberg reporters discovered something incredible. You could squeeze the juice packets by hand and get the same result. No $400 machine needed. Just 2 hands and a packet. The internet lost its mind. Memes spread faster than Juicero's investors could update their LinkedIn profiles. It was like finding out that the emperor's new clothes were actually just regular clothes, except even regular clothes would have been more useful. By September 2017, Juicero shut down entirely. $120 million gone. All from building a machine that did what human hands already do for free. If Enron had actually been transparent about its finances, it might still be a Fortune 500 company today. If Yahoo had spent that $1 billion on Google, they'd be worth more than most countries' GDP. If Pan Am had expanded cautiously instead of ordering 25 jumbo jets at once, it could still be flying routes today. If Toys R Us had built its own website instead of handing the keys to Amazon, there might still be a Jeffrey the Giraffe greeting kids at the door every Saturday morning. If Borders had invested in digital instead of outsourcing it to their future executioner, your local bookstore might still exist. And if Juicero had just sold juice in a bottle like a normal company, well, nobody would have made fun of them on Twitter. Every one of these companies had the resources, the brand recognition, and the market position to survive. Some of them had decades of dominance behind them. They didn't fail because the world changed too fast. They failed because the people in charge believed they were too big, too smart, or too innovative to be wrong. Turns out, nobody is.